I'm Maple, and I'm not a vampire. You know who else isn't a vampire? My good friend here, Vlad. Magicka is a 2011 game by Arrowhead Game Studios. It's about a group of silly wizards on a silly mission to protect the city of Havendur. Other things happen in it, like death and time travel, but that doesn't come into it until... Oh, hello. I was just fixing this up for someone. Me? No. I don't know what a YouTube is. So those stupid wizards are battling their way through a swamp to get to the Count's castle to find the dragon. And we get there and... Hey, no. Hi, I'm... No. Hey, I'm me... Hey guys. No. Hi, I'm me. The Count looks at these wizards and is like, you're not real wizards. They're protecting the city of Havendur, and the wizards can't come up with a good reply to this because, and you know, of course, there are only one set of wizards ever. This could not be another set of wizards at all. It has to be the same ones. So the Count votes out the sussy imposters and they get sent to Niflheim, the world of the dead. And in order to come back to life, they have to fight death. And they do, and they win. Death's like, oh, you're looking for the dragon? Sick. And he sends them to the mountain to find the dragon, who then tries to fight the wizards until future Vlad explains that they're here to learn magic to defeat Astor, at which point the dragon transports the wizards back to later. So, the plot. These silly wizards get sent by Vlad, their normal magic teacher, to go and protect Havendur from orc attacks. Various hijinks happen along the way, like killing a giant snake, and hijacking an airship to the town of Dunderhead, where you run into Vlad, who is having dinner with the villagers. After saving the village of Dunderhead, you catch a ride to the city of Havendur, which you save from the attacks, and killing Khan, the warlord, who's been orchestrating them all. However, you then discover that technically they're all being orchestrated by the ancient wizard Grimnir, who is seeking revenge for being banished. So off you go to World's End, where Grimnir is being held in banishment. Vlad comes with you, and he hangs back as a guard while you discover that Grimnir is being manipulated by the demon Astor, who is in the ethereal realm using Grimnir like a puppet. So you fight Grimnir, but Astor keeps healing him, so you literally can't win. You have to use a special spell to bring Astor into the material plane, but whoops, you have no idea what that spell is. So Vlad, in all his wisdom, sends the wizards back in time to learn the spell, to visit the Count, who will direct you to Fafnir, a wizard turned dragon who will give you the spell. From there... Almost done with the script. No, not for a YouTube video. For a play. I'm pitching on a play. What's it about? It's about, it's called Magicka. It's this game. I'm sort of performing it like an essay, like a sort of a video essay. But I'm not, it's not the world's end, to go back to the fight with Grimnir. Vlad, still the rear guard, accuses them of being imposters again, since the actual wizards are fighting Grimnir literally at that second. So you beat Vlad up and win this time. Vlad runs away after you beat him because he's like, oh my god, quickly, I need to go send the wizards back in time. Oh! And is like, damn, you guys were crewmates all along, and realizes that the whole time you were just the wizards he sent back in time. Grimnir is like, what the hell? And in response, the wizards beat his ass. When Astor goes to heal him, the wizards bring the demon into the physical plane. Astor immediately kills his little puppet Grimnir and tries to fight the wizards and loses. And then you get a sick party and everyone wins. Hi, I'm Maple, and I'm not a... Who are you talking to? What? Who are you talking to? To the audience. The what? So, Magicka. But what makes it so special? I mean, an incomplete version of the game won Game of the Year in the 2008 Swedish Game Awards, 3 years before the game would even be published. Well, let's start with the game mechanics. The magic system Magicka gives you control over 8 elements. Those being fire, water, earth, lightning, cold, arcane, shield, and life. Yeah, that's it. Cold's ice, but it's called cold. And life is healing. sometimes. You can stack up to 5 of these at any one time and combine them for unique results, such as combining arcane and lightning to create like a beam of lightning, which inflicts the enemies with both of the elements. Some of them also cancel out, like how trying to create water and fire will give you steam. Sorry, I mentioned arcane. I should also probably mention that magicka has a lot of gore in it. You can turn it off, but there's quite a bit of gore in magicka. You can also, when picking up spellbooks, learn to cast special spells, which you press the spacebar to activate unless you want to use them normally as their original combination. For example, by combining water, earth, and life, you can cast grease, which makes the enemy slip. Upon finishing the tutorial via playing it or skipping it, you're granted the Crash to Desktop spell, which crashes you to the desktop. You as a character are also given a weapon and a staff. What you start off with is determined by what wizard robes you wear. Whether you're an astronaut, a wizard who heals through lightning, or someone with a gun, you can pick up various weapons and staffs from enemies throughout, which you get various bonuses from, such as lightning immunity, random teleportation, things like that. I would not recommend the lightning immunity staff if you were pick the one that heals via lightning. Something that does suck, or doesn't if you screw yourself over by picking up a certain weapon or staff, is that dying makes you drop all of your gear immediately. So say you pick up the M60 gun, one death and that M60 is gone. So not the best mechanic. Death in magicka is standard to most games. If you're in multiplayer, your fellow players can revive you if they want, most likely after they've looted your body, but if you play single player, you are only allowed 1 life before you get restarted back at the checkpoint. You get this thing following you around. It's called Navi. Navi actually wasn't implemented on launch, instead being released in the November 16 update in 2011, just under 10 months after the game was first released. Oh, Navi reminds me, if any of the voice clips from magicka confuse you, it apparently uses a nonsense language, which I think is cool. Kind of like Simlish, but for wizards. Alright, unrelated to the game mechanics, something that makes magicka greatly enjoyable is the humour in it. It's a little obscure too. There's this running joke about sausages. I mean, it's even in the opening sequence. Almost every piece of transitional screen art contains a sausage somewhere in the image. There's a sausage on a stick weapon. This was not included in magicka 2 though, according to popular sources. The Reddit. Speaking of the Reddit, actually, I was pleasantly surprised to find that the community is still somewhat alive. In fact, upon finding the source for the lack of magicka 2 sausages, I was greeted by this post.
Allow me to enlighten thee. I am not in peril, Skylar, I am the peril. A mage exits his castle and is struck down with a water fire water and electric life, and you think this divine? Nay, I am the one who casts fire earth fire.
Back to the point of the humour, it is generally a pretty funny game. The Steam achievements are a little dated now, but they capture the humour of the time quite well. I still think some of them are amusing. Well, there are definitely some achievements that are still more relevant than others. The names of places are pretty funny too, such as Disappointing Forest, That Other Forest, Boring Bay, The Undrawn Lands, Dunderhead, Nunchal Pass. I mean, you can tell that the game was made in 2011. Those are just the obvious ones though. Going through other names, places like Fornskoga Forest are also not serious, since that pretty much translates to Ancient Forest. I enjoy that magicka as a game doesn't take itself seriously. It makes it fun. Well, it at least makes up for the infuriatingly painful parts, like doing that goddamn airship in chapter 3, where you can't use shield because they drag you off the map and you don't have enough time for the most efficient spell, Big Rock. Sorry, replaying this game for B-roll by myself is certainly an experience, especially because for some reason my infinite health cheats aren't working, so I'm really suffering with this one, guys. All for the content. Content. Yes, I would say I'm fairly content. No, I'm happy with the direction my life is going. I've never considered a career as a... Never mind. Look, just because I've got some fancy lights up doesn't mean I'm doing that. I mean, you really think I'd go to all this effort for some wizard game from 2011 that nobody even cares about anymore? No, I suppose not. Exactly. What even is the point of this? I also want to talk about the DLC for this game. The first DLC to be released for Magicka was the Vietnam War expansion pack, where you fight the VC and get to use an AK-47 and airstrike enemies. The DLC was made to reference Battlefield Bad Company 2, with this reference coming through for a lot of the promotional material for the DLC. The Magicka Nippon didn't add much, just a new robe, weapon and staff, but for a period of time 50% of the revenue went to the Japanese relief effort following the 2011 tsunami and earthquake. PvP was also added later on, not as a DLC itself, but presumably because PvP during the campaign was often impractical and the players were out for wizard blood. The second major DLC to be added for this game, because there were a lot of smaller packs, was The Stars Are Left, because The Stars Were Right was copyrighted. It's mysterious with a Lovecraftian theme to the story, and I'm not talking about the racism. It's about a bunch of villagers accidentally creating the second coming of Cthulhu, and is mainly set on the island of Riley. Next was the other side of the coin, where you get to fight vampires. It has nothing to do with Vlad, obviously, he's not a vampire, common misconception. Then there's Dungeons and Demons after that, which takes place in the labyrinth underneath Castle Aldraheim, where you first start the game at and take your wizard lessons. Dungeons and Gargoyles followed shortly after as a sequel to this DLC where you explore a hidden city. Like I said, the other DLC that got added along the way was just robes, maps and weapons, which is still a fun addition, but otherwise, yeah, Magicka had some pretty creative and pretty odd DLC. Magicka Wizards of the Square Tablet, Magicka Wizard Wars and Magicka 2 were all games released in 2013, 14 and 15 respectively. Though none of them were developed by Arrowhead Game Studios, the original Magicka developers, Square Tablet was developed by Ludosity Interactive and was banned from being sold in 2018 because it didn't comply with the GDPR Act. Interesting. Wizard Wars was developed by Paradox North, part of Paradox Interactive, the publishers for all media in the Magicka franchise. And the sequel, Magicka 2, was developed by Pieces Interactive. Though Pieces Interactive did work on some of the DLC for the original game, Dungeons and Demons, Dungeons and Gargoyles, and Other Side of the Coin. There was also a book by someone called Dan McGirt called Magicka the Ninth Element, which was released in 2013 shortly after Wizards of the Square Tablet. And you can see why they expand on the universe with additional properties. Magicka did a great job of setting up a world with rules around it, lore, explanations, a universe that can be easily expanded on. It has all the ridiculous charm of a homebrew D&D game, now with added rifles and Among Us. And gore. Can I show this on YouTube? I'm not monetized, what's the worst they can? Right, luckily gore can be turned off in the menu if you're squeamish or trying to dodge YouTube rules. I did not think to do that when I recorded this footage. Currently I'm partway through a Steam achievement for, well, the way I'm going about it is just throwing big rocks at people until they die. And honestly, what better way to make a point on how good Magicka is than that? It's a great wizard game with so many unique spells and a charming plot and sense of humour, and you can beat people to death with rocks. And of course, it's got my good buddy Vlad in it. What's that? Well, before we end this video, my totally normal friend Vlad made a great point. I never did tell you who the Count was. Actually, I'm not too sure. Right, if you can just send me back in time again. So those stupid wizards are battling their way through the swamp to get to the Count's castle to find the dragon. And we get there and...
Ni bespatsen i vanser hier. Ni bespretta na seerstjonen di. Ni beskratten och packe pat med sanke slutter. De verkar att diskarida. Minol komballa sid mitt vorskeräklig.
It's our good friend Vlad. He's the Count. Fucking hell. Next thing you know, he'll say he's a...
Imbanidoren. Gitaratta nobi dunkolo ryck. Jeve. Vam. Falline.
Oh, well, that's a really unexpected twist there. Wait, he's a... Oh, fuck. This makes me a YouTuber, doesn't it? Hello, it's me, Maple from the future, or I guess Maple from the present, and that was Maple from the past. Or I guess Maple from the past and then Maple from the further back past. But that's irrelevant and it doesn't matter. I'm here to make sure this YouTube video gets filmed. It really took me a while to get over the fact that my regular human pal Vlad was a vampire. But that's nothing to do with you. So, thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to drink water and take your meds. Bye!